Anyways, let's talk about one more VA thing. Apparently, this video popped up randomly on my feed, saying that an AI will destroy the voice actors and the gamers will cheer. Really, really, is that so? Huh? AI voice is gonna take over?
How's it going, everybody? I'm Gary. I'm a voice actor, I'm a gamer, and I'm a PhD in
No, he's a voice actor too as well. Interesting.
AI voice stuff. Today I wanted to talk about the thing that every voice actor is absolutely terrified of. That is actually understanding why AI is predicted to completely obliterate the voiceover industry. And in order to understand this, we actually have to understand something that is seemingly unrelated to AI, the social side of the voiceover industry. As I'm sure many of you know, there's been a massive controversy with the video game voiceover strike and the Genshin Impact strike.
God, dude, fucking. Also, this guy too as well. This guy that completely, like, you know, he was trying to kind of like, I guess he was like trying to save face or so for SAG-AFTRA, but it kind of didn't work. So, yeah.
Voiceover mentor Joe Zizia, who I greatly respect, recently released a video on this topic. So the video got a bit of a mixed reception, and if you ask me, the release of the video was really poorly timed. A lot of people thought the video was biased in favor of the union, and
Did you just call me a hoe? Wow, I see how it is. I see how it is. Thank you for the follow. Welcome.
Don't necessarily agree. I completely understand why they think that. Mostly because while he covered a lot of information about the voiceover union, what it means to go FICOR, and what a Taft-Hartley is, he chooses not to talk about any social aspects.
So rude. You come in here and you call me a hoe? Wow. Shaking my head right now. No.
The industry. In fact, he even admits it in his own video.
And that brings me to the real tricky part, the social side of things. Understand that I'm not getting to this here because this is not measurable. It is a feeling. So when we start asking questions like, why doesn't everyone just go FICOR? Or are people being blacklisted for working on non-union games during the strike? These really deal with non-measurable social feelings.
I'm not sure he intended this, but the fact that he chose not to talk about these things may have been more informative than if he had actually talked about them.
Yeah.
Because it highlights one specific point. Voice actors cannot speak about the social aspects of the industry, and they will never talk about blacklists. Now, just to clarify, there may be some people who aren't familiar with the entertainment industry lingo who think that a blacklist is a literal list of names. It's not really. As Joe said, the blacklist is mostly just a feeling. If you are on the blacklist, it just means that people will refuse to work with you for any possible reason outside of the merit of your own product.
Yeah, but you want to know something about the VA thing? The blacklist thing is so dumb in the voice acting industry. I said this story before that, like, you know, sometimes they won't blacklist you, but they won't, like, well, I guess it's kind of like that or so. Like they'll have like one of the directors will probably like nitpick you or so on like, oh, you sound too pitchy or you sound too white. It's like very super minute things. It's like it just makes no sense. Like your voice can fit very well with a character, but if they don't like you pronouncing it or saying certain things or so, they kind of like no.
There are plenty of industry leaders who will deny that the blacklist exists, so you won't find very many news articles about it, but you don't need to look very hard to see that the blacklist clearly does exist. For example, let's just take a look at what started the whole Genshin Impact fiasco. When voice actor Jacob Takanashi was cast in a role that some other voice actors thought he shouldn't be cast in, they just started blacklisting him immediately. Voice actor Shara Kirby thought he shouldn't be cast in, they just started blacklisting him immediately. Voice actor
she's a voice actress of Candace. She also voice acted a character in what is it, in Love Live or Love Live or whatever you want to call it, Pokemon. She also voice acted in Pokemon as well. Cookie Run Kingdom from Ruby, apparently. Oh yeah, Bleach. She voice acted that character. Well. Interesting. I thought the voice actors aren't allowed to voice act white people. Wasn't that a thing or so that happened, chat? And like in the voice acting industry, where that one pro ZD or so said that, like, you know, if you're Asian, you should only voice act Asian people, or if you're white, you should only voice act white people or so. I remember that, you know. I remember Pro ZD said that a long time ago.
Shara Kirby just blatantly said it. You'll never work another job again. Kaylee Mills publicized Jacob's
fucking bro, this girl's face, dude. I see it everywhere now. I fucking see it everywhere. Man, dude. Worst part about it, chat. Kaching and Mona were literally the first 2 5-stars I got back to back in Genshin Impact. And yeah. Didn't ProZD voice a squirrel? I'm not too sure. I don't really follow ProZD. I lost all respect for ProZD when he literally said that, like, oh, your skin tone, if you're white, you should not be voice acting a black character, you know? Or like, not literally saying that, but like basically incentivizing that, like, you know, the color of your skin, you should be voice acting those specific characters, you know? That's why. First 4-star? What do you mean 4-star? It's a 5-star. Chat, you remember this? Remember this, chat? She voice acts one of the main characters or so in Nikkei. So I feel sorry for the Nikkei people. So yeah, that's kind of a douchey thing to say. Yeah, the funny thing about it backfired on him too as well. So he couldn't voice act any white characters because he was Asian. So yeah. They didn't cast him any white character because he used to voice like a lot of different cool characters and stuff like that, but they didn't cast him or so because he was Asian. So it backfired at him. So it's such a stupid thing to say.
Financial information in an attempt to justify the bullying that Jacob received. Voice actor Jun Yoon, who is a prominent voice acting veteran, went out of his way to ridicule Jacob by publicly stating that he's blacklisting Jacob from his casting. Honestly,
what the fuck? Who is this guy? Wait, what does this guy voice act?
That Jacob received. Voice actor Jun Yoon.
Who is this guy? I've never seen this guy. I've never heard of this guy in my entire life. He's a prominent VA. I've never heard of this guy, to be honest. He voiced an NPC in Genshin Impact. Ooh, crazy. Crazy. Damn. I guess so, I guess. I don't know any of these characters. Not a single character that I know from this entire roster. NPC number 456, you know?
Who is a prominent voice acting veteran, went out of his way to ridicule Jacob by
it's just about the AI
stating
stuff.
that he's blacklisting Jacob from his casting. Honestly, actually seeing June do this was really upsetting to me because up until that point, June was actually one of my idols. Never meet your heroes, right? Within moments of announcing his voiceover role, the industry started cutting all ties with Jacob. This happens all the time in the industry. In Jacob's case, it was because he had the wrong opinions or did something that people didn't like. But it might just be because you said something mean to someone or you criticized their work, or maybe they just think you're ugly. There's virtually no way to stop a blacklist from happening, and it's actually an indicator of a much larger problem.
Did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that? Here, take a listen one more time. Take a listen one more time, chat. Go watch.
Case, it was because he had the wrong opinions or did something that people didn't like. But it might just be because you said something mean to someone or you criticized their work, or maybe they just think you're ugly. There's virtually no way to stop a blacklist from happening, and it's actually...
You hear that? You hear that, chat? Did you hear that? That's crazy, huh? That's crazy to hear that.
An indicator of a much larger problem in the industry. The voiceover industry has no standards.
Nope.
And by standards,
Nope.
I don't mean like a girl doesn't have standards for her deadbeat biker boyfriend. I mean that the industry doesn't have a clear metric to evaluate a good voiceover performance from a bad voiceover performance.
See, that's the problem. That's the difference between Japan's VA industry and the EN side of industry, you know, with the voice acting, you know. So that's the reason why, like, you hear a lot of shitty VAs in the EN side.
Look at the field of engineering for a perfect contrast to this. Let's say two people are building a rocket. One flies 20 feet before crashing, the other flies 50 feet before crashing. That in and of itself is a metric for evaluation. Now, it might not be the perfect metric or the metric that you need to evaluate the effectiveness of a rocket, but at the very least, the metric exists. More importantly, it's possible that the guy who built the better rocket is a complete jerk. Now, you can say you don't want to work with the guy because he's a jerk and he's terrible to work with, but you cannot deny that he built the better rocket.
Yep.
All this is just thrown out in the voiceover industry. Their metrics are like which performance is more emotional, which one is more nuanced, which performance is more real or grounded. These things aren't really metrics because they're all opinionated. Voice directors or voice actors or casting directors, they'll always claim that they can just hear a performance and know that's the best performance and that's the right one for the job. Put a pin in that.
You know, funny thing about it, I'm not even a voice director. And even I know how to criticize like voice acting. Like be like, maybe they should have improved this, maybe they should have done that, do a little bit of this, crank a little bit of that, add a little bit of motion here, add a little bit of motion there, reduce it here, reduce it there. It's funny how like, you know, because I don't like, I'm not a voice actor director. Like I'm like not even like, I don't know like, but I know how like characters should be portrayed, you know, like how to bring a character to life, you know, like I know that stuff, you know.
That claim, we'll come back to that later. But the truth is, one casting director might like one performance, one casting director might like another performance, and you cannot argue which one is better. It happens all the time. And this lack of standards, this conveniently flexible interpretation of what is good and what is bad is exactly why blacklisting happens. Any casting director could just argue that they weren't the right fit for the job, and there is no way to argue against it. And unfortunately, the most important social aspect of the industry is evaluation and casting. Hugh Klitsky, an amazing voiceover coach who I really respect, summarized it really well in a bit of a comedic LinkedIn post. He said this: "You didn't get the job? Here's why. You sounded like the producer's mom. You sounded like the director's ex. You sounded happy, but not the right kind of happy. You sounded too tall or too blonde or too much like everyone else."
There it is. There it is, chat. The reasons why they don't like you or so, if you you know, if you actually are for the fit for the job or so, right? Or whatever, you know. This is basically like the critique, quotation marks critique. Oh, you sound like my mom. I don't like you, you know, get the fuck out of here, you know? Or like, you sound like my ex from last week or so. I don't even want to hear this voice.
And so on. If you read through the entire post, you'll notice that there is a reason that is missing from that list. Someone else is better than you. Because as an industry veteran, he knows that the industry doesn't have those metrics, at least not in a way that actually matters. Because if you look at the metrics that the voice directors use, nuanced, emotional, grounded, real, you'll also notice that there's one metric that the voice acting industry generally doesn't use, and it's probably the most important metric of all: whether or not the audience likes it. And that's the only metric that actually matters. Anyone who's been paying attention to AAA video games the past few years knows that the industry, or at the very least the video game industry at large, tends to use metrics that are inversely correlated with what the audience likes. Often you'll see that the games the industry claims are high quality end up...
That's why chat, if like, you know, I would probably have a very unique voice for like mommy type characters in the scene, you know, 1000%, because those are my kind of roles. I like them, you know. I can put a little bit of flavor of myself in there, you know. I don't do the pufferfish noise, but yeah, like I said, like I do, like, those are like my cup of teas, you know. Those are like my strong suits, you know. The mommy, the evil characters, you know, the evil mommy characters anyways. Those are basically like my type of voices that I enjoy. I enjoy doing them. They're fun. They're like overall pretty fun.
Actually being the worst games when rated by the gamers. And unfortunately, the video game voiceover industry is starting to go down the same path. They've used up all their remaining goodwill with the SAG-AFTRA video game strike, and now they're starting to deny that the audience is even relevant to the industry's success at all. But when the industry stops caring about how an audience evaluates their product, it always predicts the industry's failure, and worse, predicts their takeover by AI. But if you don't believe me and you want evidence, we can look at another industry that's been just completely demolished by AI, the visual arts. So when I first started my undergraduate in engineering approximately like
AI
15
art.
years ago, I tried to convince every single one of my artist friends that AI was a legitimate threat to art, and of course they didn't believe me because art is the human endeavor. But I pointed to one very specific thing. Since the 20th century, the art industry had lost all standards. We were in the era of Jackson Pollock, who was famous for randomly throwing paint onto a
Dude, this is called abstract art. I'm gonna be honest with you. Abstract art is so shit. Dude, people pay millions of dollars for this shit. It's crazy. I just don't see the visualness of this shit. It's like literally just throwing barfing shit all over the goddamn canvas. I hate abstract art, to be honest. I really generally do. It just makes no fucking sense.
canvas. One of artist Kazimir Malevich's most famous paintings from 1915 was literally a black square. In 2010, a sculptor named Marcel Waldorf won an award for his sculpture of a woman urinating. Essentially,
Okay. All right. Yeah, okay. All right. I guess we're just doing anything, right? Abstract art was a CIA psyops. The fat electrician does a good video on it. Oh, really? Next, you're gonna tell me it's part of the Illuminati next, and it came from the void.
I believe the idea that artistic beauty is in the eye of the beholder is kind of the prevailing theory right now. You couldn't just evaluate art and just say whether or not it was good or bad. This allowed artists to do—
It's bad. For me, it's fucking garbage, bro. You know what I'm gonna do with that? I'm just gonna throw it in the garbage.
just about anything and make up a reason for why it's art. But the moment AI art exploded onto the scene, the artists faced a major problem. And that problem actually had nothing to do with artistic skill, and it had nothing to do with technology. It was actually a philosophical problem. If artistic beauty is in the eye of the beholder, it is actually impossible to justify that human art is any better than AI art. Essentially, they had no way to justify their own existence because they gave up their standards over 100 years ago. And the lack of standards that allowed their artistic industry to exist was now being reinterpreted to justify that human artists were no longer necessary. Because without standards, AI art is just as good as anything else. This led to a lot of panicking artists turning to really poorly thought out metrics. Things like AI art had no soul, or AI art had no artistic intention behind its choices. I wanted to see how valid these metrics really were, so I conducted a bit of an experiment-ish interview with a lot of the detractors of AI art, specifically about Jackson Pollock and his work. The experiment was really simple. I showed them two images. One of them was an AI-generated—
It looks pretty good. It looks pretty great, you know? That doesn't look too bad. Definitely I can see a painter actually drawing something similar to this.
painting. Usually I chose some sort of like fantasy landscape painting like this. The other one is one of Jackson Pollock's paintings. And
Man, fuck this shit, man. This shit looks trash, dude. What is this? What is this? This ain't even art. It's just someone barfed on the canvas. You know, I'd rather take the AI art over this, to be honest. Fuck this. You're supposed to find something like— it's so dumb or so, because like I've seen people or so in like videos or so, it's like, you can see the vision or so in the art, in the canvas itself. I'm like, what the fuck are you seeing? Are you fucking high or something? Give me the whatever you're smoking, give me some of that so I can see what you're seeing, because I don't see jack shit. All I see is just barf lines, just literally just painted, smeared all over it for no apparent reason, dude.
I asked a very simple question. Do you truly believe that this painting has artistic value and this painting doesn't? And they always said yes. So the natural follow-up was always—
fuck that. I'd take the AI art over the one on the left, to be honest. I feel like it's just some schizo guy just having fun with like finger painting, and that's all that happened, you know, back in the 1949s, you know.
please explain why. And this is where they started stumbling over their words. They said things like there's clear purpose behind the Pollock painting.
What?
The Pollock painting actually has like a human soul.
What's the human soul? Just fucking grabbing a fucking like a handful of paint and throwing it on the canvas? And get the fuck out of here, to be honest. Man, fuck those people or so. Those people are called artists or so. Man, get the hell ass out of here, bro. This is literally no art. There is no vision here. There's nothing here. Probably. It's like, man, what a bunch of dumbasses. These people who spent fucking $2 million on my piece of poo stain canvas drawing, you know? Probably laughing his ass off, sipping margaritas or champagne or something on a fucking beach coast, you know? Shit, I'd probably fucking do that shit if these guys are a bunch of morons, you know?
Intent behind the Pollock painting and all these sorts of weird random reasons. And even as they stumbled over their words, I always gave them the chance to take back what they said. Something like, if you can't come up with a reason, you can just take it back and just say the two paintings are equal or something like that. But for like the 100 people I interviewed, they never took it back. They always claimed that the Pollock painting clearly had intent and value.
No, it doesn't.
Was
it has zero
more
value.
Interesting, and AI art simply wasn't. So you can just imagine their panic when I revealed to them that that Pollock painting they just gassed up was made by AI. So yeah.
Whoa, wait. Hold up, wait, what?
That the Pollock painting clearly had intent and value and was more interesting, and AI art simply wasn't. So you can just imagine their panic when I revealed to them that that Pollock painting they just gassed up was made by AI.
Damn, that's crazy. Look, Mom, I'm an artist 2024, generated by ChatGPT. Oh, that's funny. That is pretty fucking hilarious.
So yeah, I generated that image a couple years back using ChatGPT specifically to run this experiment. And you can believe me, the backpedaling that they tried to do was absolutely painful. And from here, I asked them a very simple question. Based on what you know now, will you admit that AI art has real artistic value? And like half of them just stormed out before they even had a chance to answer because they...
What a bunch of babies. They all stormed out or so? Yeah, okay, that's automatically like, yeah, these people are stupid.
Knew they couldn't answer without completely destroying their beliefs. If they answered yes, they had to admit that AI art was actually valuable. And if they answered no, they had to admit that they lied. They were told that an image, in this case the AI Pollock image, was valuable simply because Jackson Pollock made it. And from there, they just reverse engineered any reason they wanted to justify why the image was valuable. That sounds familiar. Maybe like a casting director who listens to a voice actor he's friends with and just so happens to hear that he's the best. But everyone knows
I see what he's trying to play on here. I see exactly what he's trying to play on. That's a good analogy, actually.
It's just the Emperor's new clothes. You know that story of the Emperor dancing around in his underwear and everyone has to pretend he's wearing pretty clothes because they don't want to get beheaded? We look upon a picture of paint thrown on a wall and the artists demand that you pretend it's valuable. But when you show a coal miner a picture of a black square and tell him that it's more valuable than his entire career of mining for coal, when you tell a 9 to...
He'll probably just laugh at your ass, you know, coal miner. So it'd be like, yeah, you see this picture, this black square or so? This shit's worth more than your entire living or so, you know, working here for the rest of your life, you know? He'll probably just laugh at you or so. I would probably laugh at it too as well.
5 office worker that he's uncultured and uncivilized because he doesn't respect the artistic value.
What the fuck? White painting? 1951 for $10 million? But there's not even white paint on this. Honestly, it doesn't make any sense.
Of a painting of literally nothing when you stop considering what the common man thinks is good and demand that your art be respected.
Yeah, your mom also sounds like a man too as well.
Through either nonsensical standards or even just blatant lies. Do not be surprised when the common man cheers for your destruction. And unfortunately, this is where the voice acting industry finds themselves now. We've used up all our goodwill in the SAG-AFTRA strike. We've stopped using the same metrics that the audience uses to decide what is a good product. We've blatantly attacked and disregarded the gamers. So do not be surprised when the gamers cheer as AI destroys the entire voiceover industry that has been built on a lie. And by the way, for the few voice actors that are still watching out there, I'm not even saying that casting directors are bad at their jobs. Many casting directors I know are actually amazing at their jobs. But what I am saying is that if you cast someone for a job, you better be able to justify it to the audience. Because casting is effectively deciding who gets to represent your product. So if you end up casting someone who attacks the gamers, is a bully, is threatening, or is just blatantly hostile, I guarantee you, you won't be able to justify that. Now, since we've talked a lot about blacklists, I just wanted to
Nah,
leave
it's
some
okay. Don't worry about it. I'm just dying slowly, you know. That's the problem, or so, because if you hire someone who's like, you know, especially from that one girl, or what is it, Rachel Zagular or whatever, the one who played Snow White or so. Well, you know, they hired her, and look what they did to the Snow White movie. You know, she did cause, like, I wouldn't say it's like she's 100% the problem or so for the for the Snow White downfall, but she did play a good role of it, you know. Drink lemon or vitamin C rich drinks, sis. I don't have any lemon juice. I don't. So I have mango juice. That's about it. So, and it's just I'm still sick. So yeah. Deinschleif's Quest is the next Genshin update. Damn, I haven't heard anything about that in a long time, to be honest. I thought he died.
something with the gamers that is actually really important and can help you take back your games from some of the more malicious players of the industry. The real blacklist belongs to the gamers. This is really important to understand because as a collective, you gamers have a blacklist that is far more powerful than anything else in the industry. And it's actually—
That's so true, actually. That's so true. The gamers actually choose who they like and who they don't like at the end of the day, because they're the ones who are buying the products of what these people make, you know?
really easy to use. So say there's a voice actor that you think doesn't represent what you want the gaming industry to be. You simply need to take two very easy steps. Step one, don't buy their games. Super easy, right? If they're in a game and you don't want them to represent the industry, just simply refuse to buy their games. The companies will notice. And frankly, you guys have done a great job of that in the past, taking down a whole bunch of games that you all felt were not really what you wanted. Honestly, it's kind of scary how good you guys are at that. Step two, let the companies know why you're not buying their games. When a company announces their game on Twitter, for example, simply make a straightforward and simple statement. Something like, due to how this person bullies their fellow voice actors, I will no longer be buying games that feature them. Or, I believe that this person does not represent what I want from the—
I believe Bernice White does not represent what I want. Wait, Bernice White? Is that the girl from Zenless Zone Zero or something? Bernice? I don't know. I don't even know anymore. The name just reminds me of Zenless Zone Zero.
the gaming industry, and I will no longer be buying games.
Yeah, get rid of her. I don't like her. Her and her brain rot song.
Feature them. But the next part is really important. Do not be lulled into a bad faith conversation. If someone responds to your post with insults or hatred, simply ignore them. Do not turn your statements into bullying, and definitely do not turn them into threats, doxing, or harassment. The arts industries are really good at ignoring criticism if they can turn it into something worse.
The song is catchy though. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. No. Shh. Shut up, Afro. Shh. No. No.
Not give them an excuse to ignore your criticism. Simply make the straightforward statement with no bullying and no insults and walk away. I guarantee you the companies will notice, because at the end of the day, you guys are the ones paying them. And if you guys stop paying them, you bet they will fix things immediately. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Get out there and go change the industry for the better, in the way that only you gamers can. Wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I will see you all next time.
What a good video, to be honest. That's crazy. What an actual good video. Yeah, my Oshi's for like at least the EN side for voice acting or so. Is one of them is Sea Dog, right? Of course. Amalie is the other one, and Caitlin Myers is the third one. For like the EN side. But Bernice is dummy thick. What the fuck are you talking about? I've seen thicker women, to be honest. Get out of here. Anyways, like I said, you know, those are my Oshis, you know. But like I haven't really bothered looking at like other EN dub voice actors, because I just kind of listen to Japanese stuff at the end of the day. Who's that? Who's Sab? No, fuck this guy. I've said this a million times. I've lost respect for this guy. Will I show disrespect for this guy? No, but he's lost all respect. He's lost all respect with me, to be honest. The only reason why is because he's the guy. He's one of the dudes who advocated for for the stupid Notlin protest thing because like they weren't dark skinned or something like that. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here, bro. He literally did it on Twitter. I saw it on Twitter. There was somebody who made a list or so of all the ENVAs of like the Genshin people, and he was one of them. I saw the tweet that he tweeted out, so I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm Gucci. Nah, no thank you. Will I show disrespect to the guy? No, of course not. But I've lost all respect for this guy, so. And I know he's a streamer and he's a VTuber, so I'm just like, nah, man. Not really. I wouldn't bother interacting with him. Like, I'll just say like, hi, nice to meet you, you know, everything, shake hands, you know, show my respects and everything. You know, I'm not gonna disrespect the guy because he doesn't know anything about me, right? But like, but I wouldn't like have a relationship with that guy, you know? No, he's the one that advocated for all Genshin, all the white characters to be black. If you look up the Notlin situation, you would understand. Just you got to do your own research for that one. It's a rabbit hole that I'm not gonna talk to, so that I'm not gonna talk about here. It'll be too long or so. But yeah. But yeah. Anyways, that's the end of the video. You guys can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff. Still dying, of course. But hopefully we'll get out of that. We'll get out of the sickness. I remember that one, it was stupid. Yeah, basically like all of the Notlin characters, because there was white skinned characters, they wanted everyone to be black, basically. So I thought it was fucking retarded, but yeah. Anyways, that's the end of the video. And peace.